You can find today's guest under Friday Night Lights in Surrey. Joining me now, it's Mark Kennedy. He's head coach of Surrey football. Now, Coach, you guys have been on a little bit of a rise since you took over here. How do you explain the team's improvement over the years since you've gotten there? What's the process been like?
When I first got to Surrey, I think 2016 was my first year myself, and then I brought a buddy of mine with me. He was our defensive coordinator at the last school I coached at, and we talked about just doing things slow and going through a process and having stages, let's not try to, put too much on these kids, and let's take our time and build relationships with these kids and get to know them and get to know what they like and what they don't like, and what they like to do as far as football as well. And that process, I think, has helped us develop into the program that we are. Every year we've added a few things, and not really taking anything away, but we just keep adding to it. And then getting the kids, to understand that lifting weights and loving each other and turning it into a family is a big part of football.
How much did the guys in the first year really take to that idea? Because they had to be tired of losing.
There was a lot of changes for those kids, and the kids, they bought into it. It was tough, because there were some things that they had did before, and there were some things that they had never done before. But those kids are the ones that set the tone for what we do today. I'm thankful for all the kids that we've had graduate since we've been here, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we're at today.
The guys that we've been talking about for you, Coach, for a long time now have been like Ryder Holinek, quarterback, Colby Nelson, running back, Cody Fuchs, wide receiver. As they tend to move on here, what's kind of the game plan to replace people like that, both from a stat standpoint and the guys that will lead your program?
Another big thing that we did when we got here was, trying to get as many kids to learn the plays as possible. And we're not afraid to put a kid in, even if he only knows a couple plays. Well, then those are the plays that we're going to try to get you on the field to learn. And we're going to keep teaching through the classroom, through chalk talk, through walkthroughs on the field. And so as kids started learning and kids started talking and just building that camaraderie through the kids and them wanting to learn, now we have kids helping each other. We'll draw up new stuff, and this one kid will get it right away. Well, then he's turning around and he's going to help his brother. He's going to help his teammate, because we're only as good as our weakest player, and if we don't have any weak players, then we have a chance to be really good.
How much do you think the guys can learn from the chalk talk and maybe taking mental reps on the practice field when they're out with a sling on their arm versus actually having the pads and running through the reps, Coach?
I was at a clinic, and Coach Lockway at Morehead State, he was talking, and I didn't quite understand it as a player myself, but I knew that some guys, they needed the classroom to learn how to run a play, and some guys needed the field. And Coach Lockway from Morehead State, he talked about their battlefield guys and their tactical guys. And my football coach here at Minot State, Paul Rudolph, he would talk about it as well. And so those guys, some guys, they need the classroom. They need to be able to see it. And then you have other guys, they can just, you show it to them one time and they go do it. Well, we like to teach both ways, because, that's not something we're just going to go ask a kid, are you better in the classroom? Are you better on the field? No, we're just going to give them as many ways to learn the play as possible and keep working with them until they get it. And that's the other thing. We try not to move on until everyone gets what we're doing.
So your coaching tenure at Surrey has now spanned just about the length of time as a high school career, 16 to 19. Wondering, who do you think has really improved the most as a player since you've gotten there?
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't just look at improvements on the field. We look at improvements in the classroom, improvements through the community. As these kids get older, we tell our motto here is make today better than yesterday. And that doesn't just mean on the field. That means as a better person. Because if we're better people and we treat each other better and we love each other, the wins are going to come.
Did you have anything in mind when you first took the job where it was like, oh boy, we're going to have to fix this or something? And how did it work out?
No, it was just coming here and saying, you know what, this is our plan. Myself and Coach Weirson, he was my defensive coordinator. We have to stay true to ourselves and stay true to the goal. Don't try to do too much. Don't go outside of the box. Let's just have a base of what we're going to do, and we'll start from there. And, man, it's kind of taken off, and it's been a really neat thing to see these kids grow out here and learn that love and growth as a person is what is helping us be successful in football.
A casual football observer may look at 9-man or even 6-man in North Dakota and look at like all that open field, get an arena football vibe. You get reports of Colby Nelson running for 300 yards, a bunch of different games and all that stuff. So obviously, like, it has that reputation. But from the other side, I'm curious what you have to say about what are the keys to playing defense in 9-man where people have that impression of the game?
Coaching 11-man football and playing 11-man football, when I first came to 9-man football, I thought I could just do whatever I wanted. Okay, we're going to do this defense, we're going to do this offense, and you can't do it. 9-man football is a lot of unbalanced stuff. It changes the game. You see 11-man schools do a lot of unbalanced stuff. A lot of it is taken from the 9-man game, because as soon as you move a guy over, well, now you've got 4 guys on the right side of the center and no one on the left side. Defensively, you can get caught with just one backside guy who has to make a tackle in about 30 yards of space. And just finding ways to not leave kids out to dry has been the toughest part. But once we got the kids communicating with each other and talking to each other, and again, that goes back to loving each other and wanting to play together, to where, now I can talk to my teammate freely and he's not going to yell back at me. If I suggest something, he's going to say, okay, because we have love for one another. And that camaraderie there has helped us, even if we're in a bind somewhere on the field, where guys are wanting to help each other so we can still cover the field properly.
And is there an added importance more so in 9-man to just knowing maybe your man-to-man key or where you got to be on the field defensively?
I would think so. There's not much like 11-man football. You can run cover 2, you can run cover 4. In 9-man football, it's pretty much man coverage or man free. Every now and then you get a little bit cover 3, but then again, the field is so big for 18 kids on the field that there are still a lot of gaps, a lot of holes. And so, you just do your best to get your kids to cover their gaps and try to get in the quarterback space or make that tackle before the running back can get out in the open field. And there's so many good kids around here in 9-man football. It's such a good game that's kind of a little bit misrepresented because it's 9 against 9. But it's such a good game, and I've really enjoyed coaching it.
Yeah, because I've been to practice a bunch of times, and you've said that, you have a great kind of back and forth with, Ryder Halim was your quarterback for a long time. You really liked how he learned the game, and you guys would really bounce off concept ideas to each other. So you have that going on the offensive side and just having to adjust quickly and correctly defensively. I'm wondering, how much has your play calling expanded since you got to Surrey, and how much have the guys been able to adjust to maybe changing the plan at the line as time is going on?
Well, part of our plan when we got here was we're going to let the kids create this. We're going to come in with a base, and we're going to grow with the kids. So when they're ready to add something, we're going to add something. The communication part and making play changes at the line, it's all the kids. A lot of people think that I'm sitting there with a big play script. I have a play card in my hand, but 60% of the time the quarterback is the one who calls the play. Because the kids are on the field, they're going to see it better. So it's our job as coaches is to prepare them the best that we can. So when they see something on the field, they can make that adjustment themselves.
I don't want to give away any of your new wrinkles to your rival coaches over this, so I'll ask you, what was the very first fun play idea the boys wanted to have in 2016?
They were big on trick plays when I got here.
Naturally.
And I'm not a big trick play guy. I'm some would say old school smash mouth. I want to create running lanes, and I'm not one to let's toss it and try to get outside and use the field. No, we're going to go straight line. Fastest way between 2 points is a straight line. And so, listening to the kids, we put in a couple where, we'd run an outside run play with the quarterback and tell the receiver to stock block and then release. And it kind of turned into our 2-point play for the last couple of years. Well, teams have caught on to us. Now we gotta go back in the box and in the dirt and draw up some new stuff for this season.
Do you think it's simpler to kind of break down what you want to do on offense, like when you're lined up and you can see a front that obviously has less people in a 9-man game?
It becomes tough for the linemen when you get that odd front. And kids start moving around and jumping around, it breaks rules. And that's been one of the toughest things in 9-man is when you do get that odd front, you're thinking, well, we've got 4 linemen, they've got 3 linemen. We should be able to get these 3 and up to a backer. Well, as soon as the linemen move and the gap's open, just as we want the running back to hit a gap, well, now you've got a linebacker who wants to hit the gap also. And if you can't cover that gap, it's going to be a long night. And so we really had to learn to do is move in unison. And if we're running to the right, we want everybody moving somewhat to the right unless your responsibility doesn't allow that. But as long as we're moving together and we're having almost a united front and moving, our steps are together in a line, we make a wall for the running back and allow him to adjust. And, we kind of ask the running backs and the receivers to be, the better athletes on the field, but always thank your linemen for allowing you to be that better runner on the field.
Do you think you can get away with less in the 9-man game, given there's got to be that less protection if the guys aren't confident moving as a unit?
No, not at all. The edges are so short. What I've learned is a lot of schools go 5 linemen still. So if you put that back into a 11-man football, they're just missing a tight end. And some schools will go 5 linemen with a wing. So now it's essentially 11-man football inside run. And it can be tough sometimes, trying to figure out, okay, well, where do we want to go? Who do we want to run at? Who do we want to attack? In 11-man football, you have support players. Well, 9-man football, that support player is gone. And so you want to run to that gap, but all it takes, like I said, is a gap, and a backer is shooting the gap, and he's hitting your running back. So it can be tough, but, scheming, and that's the fun part of the game, is trying to create mismatches and ways to be better and ways to help these kids succeed.
You can tell even in 11-man personnel, it could be clear as the game goes on. Boys, sometimes they just line up and they dare you to stop it. Maybe that's even more so with a look like that in 9-man.
Yeah, you don't. Every now and then you get true packages like 11 personnel or 10 personnel, 21 personnel. Now we play a lot of schools where they're just straight 22 personnel, double tight, 2 running backs and a quarterback, and they're going to run right at you. And then you get some schools, they line up that same way, and they're going to boot, and they're going to play action, and you're like, man, these tight ends are really receivers. And then you start paying attention. Okay, well, they've got receivers on the edge. Okay, nope, that kid has line, and the numbers in 9-man don't matter. So your linemen can be wearing single digits, or your running backs can be wearing 65, and so you can't go off of that. You really have to watch film and know who's on the field and know your opponent.
That reminds me of the Ravens and Patriots playoff game a few years back when New England split a guy out wide even though he was ineligible, and then they had that Hawaiian tight end leave from the tackle position and catch a pass for a first down. Remember that play?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we have things where we go unbalanced and we'll try to get a guard eligible. And just do different things. We have so much fun in this game, and the kids enjoy it, and they have fun, and that's what it's about, is having fun. And if we're having fun, the wins are going to come as well.
How much of a risk do you guys have when you're calling blitzes on defense?
I let the defensive coordinator call the game. I watch when it's on defense, I become an assistant coach. I'm no longer the head coach or the offensive coach. My defensive coordinator is the head coach. I'm watching. He has a job for me to do when we're on defense. In the last couple of years, my job was the defensive line, and so that's what I would be watching. We don't have headsets here, so my defensive coordinator, he calls the play, and I can see the front. I know my D line, what they're supposed to do in this front, and that's what I'm making sure that they're doing. As far as the blitzes, I don't see that until film. And my defensive coordinator the last couple of years, he's done a really good job at scheming offenses and scheming other coaches, and I trusted him. I trust him to make the right calls.
That's a good segue because I wanted to ask you about just the assistant coaches that have helped you since you've been the head coach.
Mm-hmm. When I first got to Surrey, Roger Coleman, head coach at Bishop Bryan, he was my defensive coordinator. Drew Weirson, he came with me from Berthold High School. He was our defensive coordinator in Berthold. And Roger took the defensive coordinator job just as Coach Weirson. He didn't know how much time he'd have to, get back into coaching. Well, then after that season, Coach Coleman was able to get a head coaching job at Bishop Bryan. He's been really successful. He's a good friend of mine. We played football together at Minot State. I love him dearly. And so we were excited to see him move on and take over a program and kind of do what we had started here. Well, then Coach Weirson, he was able to get back into the more time in the coordinating stuff, and he got into his stuff, and I got to watch him grow with the kids on the defensive side. And so it's just been real fun, and now Coach Weirson has moved on. I've hired a couple new coaches. We had a coach that was with us. He was our special teams coordinator. He played at Delax Burlington, played a couple years at U Mary, and then transferred to Minot State, Eric Knutson. We're really excited for him to step into this new role as defensive coordinator. He's a young guy. He gets along well with the kids, a lot of excitement. When the kids get excited, he gets excited. He's jumping up and chest bumping and back bumping with kids. And I always tell the kids I'm too old for that. If you'd have caught me a year or two after I was done playing college, maybe I'd do it. But I'll just take a high five. They laugh at me. Okay, coach. So we're real excited for Coach Knutson to call the defense and get after it a little bit.
You bringing up Roger on your staff gave me a little bit of an idea that I'd like to ask you about. So if you have like the Surrey versus Ryan charity barbecue cook-off football game one Saturday, like in the preseason or in the spring, would you rather like to kick in 2 tackles and take on Bishop Ryan with 11 guys, or do you want them to take in a 9-man with you guys?
Yeah, to be honest, it doesn't matter to me. As long as we were able to get out there and have fun, we could play 7-on-7 and flags. It doesn't matter. The game of football is so special to me, and I know it's special to Coach Coleman. The game it helped me become who I am as a person. I just had a talk with a couple buddies that I work with, and saying if it wasn't for football, I don't know how I would be successful in life, because it taught me that waking up in the morning is important. It taught me that, that old phrase of the early bird gets the worm. And so that the game of football there's so many life lessons within this game, and how unity plays a part into it, and being a good person, and being able to talk and communicate with your teammates. And so if we were to have a game like that, I'm sure Coach Coleman and I, we'd be sitting there looking at each other, trying to think what's going to happen, and then start laughing because we'd be spot on with what each other were going to do.
So when you guys are in like a dog fight, you're playing like Ray Powers Lake or someone like that, and things are going well, or you have to make some adjustments and guys might make mistakes. What's kind of the vibe when you're on the sidelines talking to the players, or like in the locker room when you make those halftime adjustments?
Most of the time, I'm not a big speech guy. When I talk to the kids, I say, hey, I ask them, are they doing anything that we didn't show you in practice? If they are, then that's on me. That's on us coaches. We didn't do our job for the week. If they're doing everything that we showed you in practice, well, then we got to find a way. and we got to find a way to compete. We got to find a way to dig deep and really try to accomplish this goal that we come out to do every Friday night. And sometimes it doesn't happen. And like I said before, our biggest thing is we want the kids to have fun and enjoy these special moments, because these kids are making memories while they're playing football with us. And that's what's most important for us.
Yeah, because that's been important to you, like it sounds like, since day one. So when you're 4 years into it now, wondering just, do you guys think you're kind of on schedule with where you wanted to be, if you would picture your expectations from 4 years ago?
Absolutely, we are. We've got kids, go in the school asking hey, why don't you come out and play football with us? Man, we have so much fun out there. The coaches, they get after us, they make us run, but while it's happening, we're having fun. And there was an article, I think Ryder Holine did, and that's what he talked about. And I think Colby had answered a couple questions on the news, and that's what he talked about. And as my peers seen those interviews, and they come up and talk to me and say, man, that's what it's about. That's what coaching high school football in North Dakota is about. And I'm from a big state where football is played. It's almost a way of life. We're here. This is fun. This is, kids want to get out with their buddies, and have fun. And it just puts a smile on my face even talking about it.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So when you come back into this season, hey, let's just say the season's going to go off without a hitch. You got your full schedule. What would be the biggest statement win that you guys could have in the regular season coming up here?
We don't. For the kids, our biggest thing is one game at a time. And right now, our focus is Berthold. That's game one. I do think the kids every year they look forward to the homecoming game, just because the kids feel like that's when most people come out and watch us play, is homecoming, because there's all the festivities of that week. But we take it one game at a time, 1 week at a time, one practice at a time. We try to slow it down as much as possible, because not everybody learns the same, and not everybody gets excited the same. And so we have to do our job as coaches to allow that excitement level to rise throughout the week, for each game to have the same excitement. If we can have the same excitement week in and week out, we give ourselves a chance.
This isn't the news. You could say Ray Powers Lake, MLS, or Central McLean if you wanted.
Those are all three good programs. Us Mustangs out here, we enjoy good competition, and they've been really good competition. They got great coaching staffs. I've gotten to sit down and know some of the coaches, and they're good guys, and they all are doing the same thing. They want their kids to have fun. They want their kids to be successful. But most importantly, we want them to have fun in the classroom and be successful in the classroom and be good people. And when they leave us, they're going to become good young men.
Who have been your biggest coaching influences?
It started with my high school coach. His name's Mike Finch. He never gave up on me. Coming from Los Angeles, California, there's a lot of distractions out there, and he didn't give up on myself or my teammates. And he let us know that there are options out there. Then when I went to junior college, I played for Coach Gene Murphy. He's a UND Hall of Fame guy. Coach Murphy laid the groundwork for me. I was able to learn so much from him in 3 years. You have to excuse me, I'm getting choked up. Coach Murphy's no longer with us, but every Friday night I feel like he's with me. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't even know where North Dakota was. He gave me an opportunity when I was on my last leg. And he asked me to do some things, and he said, if you do some things, I'm going to do some things, and we're going to find a place for you to go and be successful. And I ended up in Minot, North Dakota, playing football in 20-degree weather. And I talked to him a couple times once I got here, and I said, Coach, you said it was going to be cold, but I didn't know it was going to be this cold. But the kids from North Dakota, they don't even wear long sleeves. They just come out and play football. And he goes, welcome to the man's world. and we had a good laugh, and And when I was able to get back home and I seen him, one of the last times that I seen him, and I'm a hugger, or I never thought to hug Coach Murphy. I would just put my hand out and he would shake it, and we'd just look at each other, and it was almost that moment of like, you just know, like, okay, this is what's for you. And he's one of my angels, my angels that I got to see face to face. And then I was able to come out here and meet Coach Sievertson the first year. He was a hard-nosed coach, kind of reminded me of my high school coach, and he didn't take any crap from any players. Like everybody could get it. Well, I was fortunate enough to get that little bit, that bring me back to reality. And then, man, I had Coach Rudolph, and again, Coach Rudolph was another guy that he didn't give up on me. When I wanted to be at home, I wanted to go home. No, this is where you need to be. You need to finish school. You need to get your education. Try to find things out here that you can enjoy. That'll make your time easier. And he just kept talking to me and let me know that it was okay to feel the way that I was feeling. But I came here for a purpose and a reason. And it's resonated. And that's what I try to transfer and teach these kids, at the high school level, is you're doing this for a reason. Whatever that reason be, whether it's your brother, you want to play with your brother, or you want to, come out here because your best friend is out here, or you want to play football because your dad played football, whatever that reason is, you got to love that reason. If you can love that reason, you have a chance to be successful.
You just want to get these Surrey guys to hopefully get close to as much of the game out of it as you did, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, that's the plan. Mark, I appreciate it. I hope to see you out here real soon in the full-time practice capacity as we roll on in the uncertain season here. But I really appreciate your time, and this was a great conversation. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. We always enjoy having you come out.